And if you would just introduce yourself.
My name is Jim Curtin. I'm a citizen of the town and a taxpayer of the town. I live at 140 Swanson Terrace. I'm also the president of IAFF Local 1512 here in the town. I think you're all aware of why I'm here, accompanied by the other unions. There is information that came to us, Mr. Chairman, that said that you're going into executive session to discuss renegotiating.
The citizens' comments is for anything that is not on our agenda. That is the policy that has been in place since we put this in place. Anything that is not on the agenda, it's every week it is stated as such, Mr. Curtin. Anything that is not on the agenda, you're more than welcome to talk.
Could you give me an example of that, sir? Just
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Anything that is on the agenda is not brought before us under citizens' comments. It's been the policy of the board since they put the citizens' comments in place back when Mr. Anastas was chairman in 2009, that it is citizens' comments for anything that is not on this evening's agenda.
Okay, so can we comment on it when you come back out from executive session and go to your consent? Your consent election?
When we come back out, if the chair recognizes you, would be able to speak.
But the chair doesn't have to recognize me, correct? The chair doesn't have to recognize me, correct?
That is correct. I'm going to ask you to act appropriately, or I will ask you to leave. Go ahead, Mr. Comment.
Trying to stay within the rules, sir. I just want to know that if I can get up and speak after you come out of executive session and before you go to the consent. I'm not sure of the language when you come to your consent vote. Would I be allowed to speak? Would I be recognized then?
I will see what happens when we come out, Mr. Curtin.
Okay, sir.
With that, we come to next item on the agenda, which is an executive session, collective bargaining strategy for non-union personnel. Mr. Hartman, if your chart is still sitting there, would you please read that? I believe it's number 3.
Yeah, discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. This open meeting may have a...
Your mic.
It's item number 3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. If the chairman determines that it could have a detrimental effect on bargaining.
And the chair so declares. I'm going to poll the board to go into executive session. We will be adjourning from executive session back to open session. Mr. Recupero?
Aye.
Mr. Anastas?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
I just want to make sure the audience knows we're talking about collective bargaining with a non-union personnel. Aye.
Mr. O'Regan? And the chair is aye. We will enter into executive session at 9:15.
Mr. Anzivino?
Yes, Mr. Curtin.
We just know who the non-union contracts are that you're talking about. When you go in for us, you say you're going in to discuss police, fire, DPW. Non-union is a very vague and non-specific. Can you let us know who? Obviously, it's specific positions.
Actually, it could be for any non-union personnel.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting. We are back in open session. Our next item on the agenda was the consent agenda. We have approved payroll and bill warrants and any other documents to come before the meeting. The town manager's contract, Chief Sassany's side letter to his contract. Does anybody want to pull any of these items?
Yes. C.
C? Anyone? Then I will pull B.
Motion to approve the consent agenda A and B.
Second.
Say that again?
Motion to approve the consent agenda items A and B.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve items A.
Mr.
and
Anzivino,
B.
not to be unruly, sir, but there's a lot of people that have been waiting.
You'll be allowed to speak.
Okay, sir, that's all I'm checking. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you will be allowed to speak.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Curtin.
Okay.
So there is a motion and a second. Was that you, Bob?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve items A and B.
Did you want discussion?
The wish of the board?
Discussion on the motion?
Aye?
Oh, well, is there any discussion on the motion?
I didn't know if Bob wanted to say anything.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous. Now, Ms. Walsh, you asked to pull item C.
Yes, may that be voted separately, please?
Oh, sure.
I move item C on the consent agenda.
So now we have a motion to approve item C on the
Second.
consent agenda.
Second.
And we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And the chair is aye.
I'm opposed.
Opposed? Ms. Walsh. Okay, Mr. Curtin, you had asked if you could speak after we finished the consent agenda.
Well, actually, I had asked to speak before the consent agenda, so I could have got my point across before you voted on it, but obviously, that's all said and done. But again, I represent the firefighters of Stoughton, and I'll tell you, we're very upset right now that ourselves and 3 of our brother unions are all without a contract, and you just voted to write a new contract for somebody who was 15 months into a contract. There was a 3-year contract with the right of 5 years, the 2-year extension on it, from what we understand. It's very disheartening. We understand the contract negotiations are stressful on you, they're stressful on us. But it's up to the board and it's up to the town manager to settle these contracts. I think it would have been in a lot better taste had you put that aside, either tabled it or not brought it up until the town manager and the board did settle those other 4 contracts. It's not fair. I'm very upset right now. Doesn't fit very well, Mr. Anzivino, that this is being brought up when 2 members of the board are up for re-election on next Tuesday, and the board could change. You could have tabled it until the new board came in and then decided it. It just looks a little underhanded that it was done the way that it was done.
Well,